So Mike, can you tell us a little bit what that is?
The record or the phonograph?
Both.
Both of them and the story of it.
Okay, so the record belonged to my wife's grandparents, who were Greek, and they immigrated to Canada in the 1920s, but they lived in a town called Parsa, which I think is now part of Turkey. So apparently when they immigrated first to New York City at Ellis Island, and then they took a bus to Canada, and we know this because on these old records that came from their house, there is a little paper tag on some of them with an address of a record store in Manhattan, which is across from the bus station. So they must have bought these records and then gone up there. So I think her grandfather came first and lived in Canada for some years, and then went back to Parsa and married this woman and brought her back. And that's Emily's grandparents. So we inherited these records a couple of years ago. This is a really junky, cheap phonograph that's, I don't know when it was made, but it's mechanical, so you crank it up. And we bought this maybe 12 years ago at an auction. It was very cheap. But we used to use it on picnics. Mm-hmm. So we go driving out into the desert or up in the mountains, and we take some records, or we would find some records for sale. We could play them before we bought them. In fact, we were in a saloon once with some cowboys, and we had the record player with us, and we were all like listening and singing to like records. It was quite fun. But anyway, maybe 5-6 years ago, we took this out and cranked it up, and the spring broke. So then we didn't have it anymore, and I wanted to fix it. So I took it to a man I know in Phoenix who repairs phonographs. And he didn't want to fix it. He said it's too junky and it can't be fixed. And that was kind of sad, because if you would buy a nice portable phonograph like that, maybe it's $200, $250. And at this time we didn't have a lot of money. And so that was just it. We were out of business. But maybe 2 years ago I decided I would try and fix this. So I took the mechanism inside apart, and I took the gear case out with a spring in it, and I sent it off to California. There's a guy who makes new springs. So it came back with a new spring, and I tried to put it back together, and I couldn't figure out how to reassemble it. So I worked on it for days, and it just would not work properly, and I got mad at it and just threw it under my workbench and forgot about it. So maybe a month ago, I went to see this guy who repairs phonographs again to get something else fixed. And he said I need to start to learn how to fix my own phonographs instead of bringing them to him. So he said, if you have anything you don't understand, just bring it to me, I'll help you. So I show up next week with this, and I said, I can't put this back together. So we worked on it for an hour or two and got it back together, and it worked. So I brought it back home, but the handle was so old that if you would try to pick it up by the handle, it would just break off. So we had to carry it around like this. So that was no fun. So it's difficult to get a handle that's the same size, because they no longer make them the exact same size. So I managed to locate an original handle made in the 1940s that had never been sold. And I got the handle, but it's held on by rivets. So I drilled out the rivets, but I can't use a new rivet because they've changed the size of rivets. So now they no longer fit in the original hole, and they are not the same length. So I had to find some rivets that were made in 1940. And then a tool that flattens the rivet, and you can't use a modern tool because the end of the tool is for the modern rivets. So I had to find a 1940s rivet setting tool. So that arrived in the mail Monday or Tuesday. So then I put the handle on, and it was all fixed, and I brought it in and showed it to Emily, and she said, that's great. She said, you should try it. So I took a record and put it on, and it just ground to a halt and stopped spinning. So I had to take the entire thing all apart again, like to the nuts and the bolts, and lubricate all the parts and readjust all the settings to make it work. But by coincidence, we were going to New York next week for our 5th anniversary. Mm-hmm. And I had remembered when we got these records, they had a tag on them that had the address of this record store.
Yeah, did you find the store?
So I said to Emily, we need to find that record store that they went to when they immigrated from Parsa. So I went in the closet and found these records, and it was at the same time I was fixing this, so I thought I should bring these in, because maybe you know the song. So that's why it's here.
Yeah, the songs are.
So can we listen to the song now then?
Yeah, now you can finally listen to the song. So you need a new needle for every time you play a song.
But before that, are you?
Yeah, I think I just cranked it already. Nicer phonographs have a mechanism that it stops when the spring is done, but cheap phonographs don't, so we keep spinning. Too slow?
Yeah, too slow.
That looks like it hurts.
And you listen.
So Mike, we don't see the power cable of this device. Where is it?
Right here.
No power cable.
Inductively powered.
So,
Like the Chevy Volt.
so I think it's good for camping areas.
Yeah, sure. And picnics.
So
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
what other songs do you have?
Here or in general?
Here.
I don't know. They're all in Turkish, so.
Turkish? Okay, pick one more then.
We have something on the very famous Kismet Records.
Gazel.
It's Gazel from.
There is something from Müzeyyen. I think Müzeyyen Sena.
Oh, and this one tells you who is singing it.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Arif ve G.
Arif Vecihi, I guess, right?
Yeah.
You don't know.
Okay, we don't know that.
You don't know
But we have another one.
No, burada var. Müzeyyen.
About this purple one here.
What does it say?
Yüzon
Güzel.
şarkı Nezihe Hanım.
Kirpiklerinin her teli.
Okay, would you like to try this?
Is that going to be a
Okay.
good one?
Well, let's see.
Okay, now you can do it now. You know what to do.
Okay.
There you go.
So we are changing the needle again.
A new needle for each song.
Brief song. Yeah, and if you try to play another song with the same needle, after about 2 or 3 songs, the needle is so sharp, it like cuts like literally into the record, and then the record just grinds to a stop.
Oh. Yes, he's a crazy man.
Oh, another interesting fact. I didn't bring any. There's more than one type of needle. So this is just one type. That's the volume control. So you can get loud needles that you put them in and the record is louder.
Is Dina?
This one it's hard to tell. Some phonographs, the spring gets very tough when you get near the end. And this one, it's difficult to know. You just know. And you lift up this thing. There you go.
Oops.
A little bit further.
Okay.
We need some rocker here.
Yes.
It's next time. Let's assume this one is record.
No. I can't believe
You
it.
understand the words?
Irfan, can you translate the song into English, please?
If I heard well, I think.
Oh baby, oh baby. I love you, baby.
Yeah. Once
Yeah.
upon a time.
You can't
While working in
understand.
groceries. Çok yavaş değil mi?
Sounds too slow.
Yeah. Or
I think you're running out of juice.
that kind of.
Nicer phonographs have 2, 3, or even 4 springs. So you crank it up a whole lot, and then you can play 3, 4, or 5 records.
Oh, okay.
But this just has one. She's singing about how she is in pain. It's unbearable.
So where's the speaker?
And also that part is the shelf for the records. It was like that.
I think you're supposed to put records in without the sleeves.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Not really the best. And actually, it doesn't really have a speaker because there's no electricity. So it's more like a trumpet. So this tube is hollow and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger like a trumpet.
Oh.
And then it bends around and it comes out here.
And then keyboard.
It just makes it louder.
Thank
Was the end
you.
of the song.
Well, yeah, that was really great.
Thank you, Mike.
That's cool.
Thank you very much, Mike. So how much does it cost? For us?
Priceless.
You'll get the bill in the mail. So don't look at it very carefully, just pay.
Start here.